All right, everybody. Yes, we are. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. We appreciate you being here for the sake of the audio recording. This is the Bear River Watershed Council meeting. Today's date is the 18th of July, 2024. We are here at our anchor location of the Bear River Water Conservancy building. I'm Sean Milne. I am really the secretary, but as most of you likely know, if not all, our Madam Chair, Christy, she's resigned, and we're also without our vice chair. So lucky me, secretary gets to run the meeting today. Thankfully, I'm okay running the meeting. And Harley, will that mean that you'll take minutes today?
I think Holly is taking some notes today.
Holly, you want to confirm that for us? Excellent. Thank you very much, Holly. I really appreciate that. As a typical male, I can only do one thing at a time, and even then, it's not all that great. So I wouldn't be able to speak and pay attention and do the minutes. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think that's limited to a male thing. Just saying.
Duly noted. And since it's an official meeting, I will keep the joke I thought of to myself. All right. So with that, we do have, hopefully you've all seen the agenda that should have accompanied the email to let you know of today's meeting. Our first item is actually to elect a new chair and vice chair. And then we'll go to the open discussion about open seats on the council here. So without further ado, are there any? Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I was reading your organizing documents, and before we you can conduct official action, we need to elect you.
Oh, okay.
As
Normally
the
that's how that would be
temporary
by default.
chair.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we have to elect a pro temp.
Second.
Copy that. Is there any other nominations for chair pro temp? If not, then why don't we have a vote by acclamation if you'd like, since there's no other nominations. We turn that nomination into one by acclamation. That I just continue running the meeting today.
So moved.
And no opposed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, so noted. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being more diligent than I was to some secretary I am. We might have an election for a secretary today too. All right, so now with that officially being done, are there any questions about the two positions or the duties around them? Since I remember becoming secretary, so many people wanted it. Any questions about duties? Okay, then seeing none. Are there any nominations?
Do we have enough online in here
Do you have a quorum?
That's another really
to have a
excellent
quorum to
question.
make these nominations and elections?
Yeah.
Nate, thank you so
I
much.
just, it's the least we've ever had show up. Usually the table's packed too, so I don't know how many are actual voting members currently.
Holly, do you know that off the top of your head? I'm going to the membership list in this Excel file.
I
I
have to
appreciate
pull it
you.
up. I also can't really see everyone that's in the room.
The numbers by chance that we need to have.
Well, there's 21 on total, right?
After losing Kirsty and Matt, Carl,
No, I think counted them. So those empty positions.
You don't.
you don't have to count the
Empty
empty.
position. You
Yeah.
have to have
So
a
we have
majority of. the-
Majority of 19, so we gotta have 10.
We got it.
One.
Would you raise your hand if you're a voting member and know yourself to be as such?
No, I don't, I think.
You
I think- Yeah, I think federal agencies are.
Well, see, with Carl not being here, I
Yeah,
don't know
so
if that
he's not a voting member yet,
yet.
so I don't know that we,
Okay, all right, let's everyone raise your hand again if you know that you're a voting member. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And
How
Conley,
how many
oh,
online?
we got Conley.
And
Is-
you
is
got
Tim.
by the hair of our
And Jim.
team.
Jim is the voting member.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's close.
That's fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. That was a great question, Nate, to make sure that we're in compliance. I really do actually appreciate that you brought that up. That makes me think that with at least one individual here that is employed by an agency that had a seat here at the table, maybe we change this up a little bit if folks would like to make a motion that we perhaps discuss that we
Membership.
amend the agenda to bring forward discussing the open council seats to now before we make an election, just so that there's a difference in votes.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
The motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so-
Connolly and Jim, you gotta get a thumbs up.
or raise your hand is just kind of like
I see one
an
thumbs up there.
aye motion. Okay, great, thanks. And
Okay.
excellent, thank you, Jim, appreciate that. Okay, that being said, we moved that forward. Do we want to have that discussion then about the current position that's open and any others?
Yes, I would love to have, tell me your name again.
Chance.
Chance. Thank you. I was thinking Brants, but that is
Close.
Chance. Chance,
Do you want to give your last name too, just for the sake of the record?
Yeah, Chance Baxter.
Thanks.
Chance. That he be nominated to be
Frankie.
on the.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor and a second. Are any other questions or discussion about Mr. Baxter joining us? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Were you gonna raise a question?
I was just gonna say, what's his background or?
Yeah, okay, so we'll rescind that vote for the moment. If only out of procedure, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those of us that don't know you and let us know.
As I said, my name is Chance Baxter. I currently am serving as the interim general manager of the Bear River Water Conservancy. I've worked here for just over 2.5 years. I started at the district as their operations supervisor. About 1.5 years ago, I was promoted to Carl's assistant general manager and served in that position up until Carl resigned in the middle of April. At that time, our board put me in as interim general manager for the last 3 months. I believe there's going to be a vote on making that official here the 31st of July. We're hoping that goes well. I don't foresee any issues with it, but other than that, history I have is I'm a resident of Box Elder County. I live out in West Corinne. I've been working water in Box Elder County. This is starting my 19th year. I spent 16.5 years working for one of the largest private culinary water systems in Utah. It's what's called West Corinne Water. They're out west of here. I started at 15 years old actually working for them, and I worked up to where I was their assistant manager out there until Carl actually recruited me to come work for the district. Very passionate about water and our community, and very excited to serve on this. Is this a committee then?
Right? Oh, that was an okay question.
You don't have to live close to Buzz, do you?
Buzz Nelson? Yeah.
Across the way.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, my wife works with Buzz, so my wife is the accountants of or all the accounts of the co-op, so Buzz is hilarious.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. But other than that, if there's any questions, but
Okay, well then, if there are no other questions or grilling of the candidate, let's go ahead. We do have the motion in the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Welcome aboard. Chief, appreciate it. No, that was good. I'm actually glad that you asked. Just trying to be funny to break the tension. Any other vacancies that we would like to discuss as a board?
I have one thing to bring up. So my name is Erin Holmes and I'm the project leader for the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. And as you guys know, we sit at the bottom of the Bear River and they're pretty involved in the watershed activities. I have taken another position. And so I'm staying at the agency, but I am moving to all the way to Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and gonna be overseeing refugees in New England. So my non-voting membership will be available. If you guys want another rep from the refuge, I can definitely pass that on, and whomever comes after me or somebody in the interim.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're happy for you.
Thanks.
It seems as though this is the council to belong to if you want a job change. All right.
Steve, you gonna quit milking cows?
No.
Can can we get, a substitute, maybe your scientist? Or, Mike?
I think probably the deputy project leader, Mike Dunphy, would be a great person to have in the interim. It'll
Cause
probably-
he's come.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't been to.
yeah, and it'll probably take 6 to 8 months to
Right.
fill in behind me, so that would maintain that consistency.
If you would be willing to do that, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys, if everybody's good for that, so, yeah, okay, yeah, I can pass that on to him. And then I just wanna say that this has been, working in the Bay River Watershed has been a highlight of my career, and the way so many people are so passionate about it, and people from all walks and backgrounds and goals come together to protect it, and so just keep up the good work, it's something I would definitely brag about in Massachusetts.
Excellent, thank you.
Uh,
That's great. You know, this makes me contemplate here. Chance, are you familiar with pretty much everybody in the room, or could we benefit from some introductions around the room?
I would benefit from some.
Excellent. Why don't we start
So
here?
I'm Randy Udy, he knows me. I'm Randy Udy, I'm Trevor's assistant at Bear River Canal Company.
Trevor Nelson, General Manager, Bear River Canal.
And the Village Nature Conservancy.
Nathan Dowds, Cache Water District.
Burdette West, I'm a rancher in Ritchie County, Woodruff Mills Reservoir.
Stephen Griffin, Newton Dam, Agriculture.
Val J. Rigby, I'm a farmer rancher and Utah Farm Bureau.
And project leader, Bay River Migratory Bird Refuge for 2 more months.
2 more months.
Carly Payne, Division of Water Resources. I'm the Watershed Council's coordinator.
Reagan Holmgren. I am resident of Box Elder County and a farmer and yeah, I'm on the Conservancy District Board and Bear River City Council. I guess that's me. So
Mark Hurd, Hyde Park Canal Water Master, and also on the Cache County Council.
And I work for the Bear River Association of Governments, doing economic development and intergovernmental affairs. We'll continue around the room here, and then Ann, we'll make sure we get people that are online.
Skylar Buck, I go to the Utah Water Rights, National Engineer. Brian David, I'm a state agronomist for Utah NRCS. I used to work in Box Elder County quite a bit over there in the Tremont office as a soil conservationist too.
Norm Evanson, I'm a retired NRCS person about a year ago, and I'm now helping with the Watershed program.
Good afternoon, Derek Hamilton, Water Resources Coordinator with NRCS, Salt Lake, in our state office.
I'm Anders Hillerup, I'm the Assistant State Conservation.
Young man, you want to introduce yourself? Excellent. Sounds like you're that 15-year-old getting his start. That's fantastic. Let's go with Connolly, then Holly, Melissa to that point.
Connolly Baldwin, hydrologist for Pacific Corp, and we operate Bear Lake and the main stem hydroelectric dams on the Bear River, including Cutler.
Holly Wood with the Langdon Group. We were the consultant hired to help organize and arrange the watershed councils.
Hi, Melissa. I'm getting over being sick, so just have my camera off, but I'm with Utah Division of Wildlife Resources based out of the Ogden office.
Excellent. Thank you, Kit. And then Jim.
Hi, I'm Kit Quay. I'm with NRCS. I'm the Assistant State Conservationist for Partnerships.
Hello, I'm Jim Dorito with Trout Unlimited.
Nick and Sean.
Yeah, Nick Reithel with the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, Watershed Coordinator.
Sean Stanley with NRCS Engineering out of Logan on the project, backing Jason Roper up.
Thank you. And then Justin and Tara to round it out.
Yeah, I'm Justin Elzer. I'm the district conservationist for NRCS. I'm located in Logan. I'm over at Cache County and Rich County.
And I'm Tara Hoffman. I am the Watershed Cultural Resources Specialist with NRCS, and I'm located in Salt Lake.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I know that that's not only helpful to Mr. Baxter, but I'm still getting to learn some of you as well. And by the looks of it, we all kind of appreciate that. So thank you. All right. Are there any other open seats that we would like to discuss? Just a nice, robust discussion. Nate?
I would motion that with Christie's seat, we could probably let that one remain vacant.
Okay.
For the time being. We have number of, we've already got 5 or 6. Well, canal company representatives, let alone more even add canal company. And her, and Mark, they were side by side canal systems there in North Logan Hyde Park already. So unless we have another area that we think is very underrepresented in one of the 3 counties, we already have a pretty good size council.
Yes, we do. And the larger the council, the more we need for a quorum, as we kind of learned. But that's not to persuade. Are there any other thoughts? There is a motion on the floor, but are there any other thoughts? Is there a second?
That's second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for the time being, the position that Christie had, that we would just leave that open for the time being. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so it stands. Is there a motion to perhaps to close this further discussion, since that was just one particular seat, but we could be discussing more at your leisure, if that's what you wanted.
Let's close it.
All right. And I'll take that as a motion to close the discussion on open council seats. Is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Weston. All those in favor of closing this discussion item and moving on to the next? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. All right, now we're down to elect a new chair.
So, you're taking nominations?
Yes, ma'am, I am, man.
I nominate you,
Oh, I don't like you now.
to be considered for the position of chair for our Watershed.
Thank you, that's very nice of you. Are there any other nominations?
I would nominate Nate.
Excellent.
I'd second Ann's nomination.
Oh. Now there's a second, so by parliamentary procedure, we're supposed to proceed, but you made that after the nomination, so Chair Pro Tem will recognize there's a second.
No one second that. Just keep your mouths quiet for a minute.
Oh, I'll second.
Take care. Man, I was second your second.
Yeah, so that puts me in.
Are
there any other nominations? So right now we have Nate and myself as nominees. Are there any other nominations for chair of this august council? Okay. A motion to cease nominations and to just proceed with the vote, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The chair sees none. All those in favor of ceasing nominations, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. All right, so now we have 2. How would the council like to proceed with the vote?
Hey, can you do it?
I don't really have extra time to run another board.
Well, I'm kind of in the same position.
Yeah, no one.
I was hoping you would-
I think you're pretty maxed.
I will acquiesce. I will gladly withdraw myself from consideration. So that this is an
I
easy
will
vote.
too.
Is there anyone interested in being vice chair? Okay, I was gonna say, I'll take myself out and I was gonna make that real easy. Is there anyone that, so if I might just put a pin in that for the moment. Let's sincerely, like, who's interested in vice chair? Is this gonna be a nomination process or?
Is that what Carl was before?
I think you just, if someone was there and you could take their spot, you're in.
Yeah.
So it's just.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. Let's.
Okay, but I also saw someone pointing at you. You do that. I didn't out who the person was. They didn't have to.
Do what you're doing up there.
Okay. All right. So is that a yes or no? I'm gonna be really direct just so we can move on with the rest of the agenda. Because I'm about.
I would say no, like Nate.
What's that?
I'd say no.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay, and I didn't hear you say no. So then what we have is we have somebody on deck. So I will rescind myself from consideration. Matt, would
As will
you,
I.
you will?
I really don't have time to conduct and put together agendas and keep another. A year from now, maybe if they give me another position, so I have some help at the district. It would be a little easier, but. Extra time.
Do you know what comes into vice chair? Are you interested in chair?
No.
Gee,
I'm already doing I'm doing 3 jobs as we speak. I don't even know.
all right. Any other thoughts from the council?
Who's not here that we can nominate?
Yeah.
That's
That
true.
That didn't show up.
Sarah, your square is highlighted from what we can see in the room. Is there anyone that's online that has anything to opine on?
Like Jim? Or Connolly?
Yeah, if I were them, I'd keep my camera and microphone off too.
Thinking about who's not online.
All right.
Who's on the council?
I'm sincerely not interested, but in
Steve,
order to move
okay,
this
look at
along, well, we're gonna have to have a secretary then.
Oh, yeah.
Nate, if I had my assistant help you with that,
If it's all I have to do is come and run the meeting here, then I could do that. But
I've
I'm
done
gonna
it.
try to set up people and get people here to do presentations
Yeah,
and
that's my.
doing all that other stuff. There's just not enough.
say I have an assistant that
Time
handles all
to
this other stuff for me. I think we can
It'd
add
be
that on
nice
to
to have
her.
an assistant.
How much longer do we have the Langdon group?
They're gone. They're already
Pretty
done.
As of this.
Okay.
Yeah, Polly's just helping out to be nice.
Yeah,
Thank you, Holly.
yeah, they finished up a couple months ago or.
I will tell you, as the secretary, she has done just a great job. So as this group secretary, I haven't had much to do because Holly.
Tristan did a good job as chair,
she-
chasing stuff down,
she really
getting
did.
people to present. And coming up with items, which is not time I have on my hands to chase down. So if it's all I gotta do is conduct a meeting, I can do that. If you want me putting,
So one of the things
Agendas
that, and I don't know if it was last meeting or meeting before, when I asked you to come up with agenda items, you know, we came up with a list of like almost 20 different agenda items. The chair could assign someone to,
you better be careful what you say, cause.
I know, the chair could assign someone for the next meeting, so like, I was anxious that we didn't have anybody, so I pushed this agenda today.
Good job.
Because it was the first thing on our list that we had agreed upon, that we were interested in the PL 5. Did I say that right? PL 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I asked Trevor if he would do something, and I asked Derek if he would do something. So, I'm done for this one. Somebody else is gonna have to do the next
I
one.
don't
Unless
know
I
about
sign,
that. We can
unless
still
I-
reopen nominations, man. We could nominate you if you.
Well, but the chair could assign, like, so we could pull up the list of the different subjects that we had that we were interested in at that point. Or if we have something that we're very interested in right now, then we could do that for the next meeting. That's an option.
Oh, another thing to consider.
And as long as the.
For the vice chair position, so I don't have time to fill either of the positions. Going through some health problems right now, just can't take anything else on. However, if we were to fill the vacant position, we just decided to hold on with Randy Udy. Randy Udy has expressed interest that he would be willing to be the vice chair. Then we would only have to fill the chairman position, but he's not a voting member, so he can't be the vice chair as we sit today. So something to consider.
Oh, that changes things.
Why can we open back up to the seat that we just benched and?
If
Sure.
Chance is willing to be then the chair, if he doesn't have to be the vice chair.
I don't even know what that entails. So
Especially if we're gonna use your assistant, for
Harley
some
or
of the stuff, it would probably be easier for you to coordinate. It's really putting the agendas together and running the meeting is what the chair does.
And
then the
writing
vice chair
letters.
does-
We
The
have,
vice chair does it if the chair's not.
we've had
there.
a few letters that we've wanted.
Yeah. So
Because
that's the big
we
difference
are a
between chair
liaison to the Great Salt Lake or just the Great Salt Lake or the
and
state.
The state.
The state,
Is what-
watershed
yeah.
councils, and so there is. Trevor is the liaison, but there is like. Some of us, and probably all of you guys, paid attention to the legislative right? And they had something about watershed councils in the legislative session, and we didn't like it. And so we wrote a letter, or Trevor and Christie wrote.
Luckily, we didn't have to turn it in.
No,
We had
well-
it ready.
Yeah, and so, so there is that, but I think, I don't think you're gonna change how you operate and, right? So you're still gonna encourage the council, right? And
I
so,
think anytime a letter gets written by the council, whoever's interested in writing
Yeah,
a
still
letter
gonna
can
have to
actually
write
do a
that.
lot of the layman's work.
the latest work, but
The chairman is.
we
the
send
one
it out
who
to
has
we send it out,
Edit it. Make
right?
sure it matches the tone of the council, and they are the chairman. They act on behalf of the
The
council
chair.
when the council's not in session.
Yeah, so we do have a presence outside of this, so that, because we don't want to get stuck with stuff that we don't want to do, right? Or, I mean, as council, so we want to stay ahead of that. So that is part of it, but usually you brought it to Christie's attention, right? The chair doesn't have to be the all-knowing, right? One of us can bring it to the chair's attention, and then we could decide whether or not we wanted to have a letter or have a meeting or whatever. It's not that the chair has to be all-knowing, because the members are driving the agenda.
So Nate, I look back at you. Are you still interested?
I wasn't interested to start with.
I hear you, brother. Is there anyone else that's,
And I think early on too,
well,
Yeah,
but yeah, we're
that
kind
we
of,
wanted the
Quite
chair and the
interesting.
vice chair to be different people than we had on our state and Great Salt Lake councils for representation.
yeah, and the opportunity to kind of have more opportunity for touch points.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm already the chair or the representative for the state council.
It's a valid point.
That is true.
Would you offer up your person to help? Because I've been the secretary.
Yeah, no, I've got.
When is the term up? Do we know this, Holly or
I
Carly?
think we have
Yeah.
the chairs.
Is it just till the end of the year?
Should be 2 years from when it started, so you're probably at about a year from now.
To move this along, then I'd be willing to do that, if it's just to finish out. But I would lean on your resource if you're offering.
Absolutely.
And I'll be honest, like I'd be the kind of chair that would lean on that kind of approach to have the council help create the agenda. Because I'm not like you guys, I do not know water like you guys do.
No,
I'm just a huge passionate advocate of keeping our water, because water equals opportunity, and my day job is all about creating more opportunity for our citizens and our grandchildren and such, so. I just want to preserve that opportunity.
If you move to chair, does that create a vacancy as secretary?
It does, which is where I was getting with that. Something else to consider. So, but there's also, well, it's not really what it was intended to be. But you also made a really great point that we could reopen a discussion, but I didn't hear anybody jump on that, so I didn't want to ignore it. I want to acknowledge it, but we could go back to reopening.
I think it was a question. And I think now that you've said yes,
What do you, now that he said yes, what are you asking?
do you want to reopen up for new members?
Well, I think Randy would be a good member if we want to fill that vacancy right now.
Unique thing that Randy brings to the table is although he is employed in Box Elder County Fair Canal Company, he is a citizen of Cache County. So he brings the viewpoint from both counties. If you guys are interested in having someone from both sides. of the-
Rich, right there.
He can nominate whoever he wants. He's the one here from that county, so.
What do you want me to nominate for?
Do you want to do anything in the leadership of this?
I really don't have a lot of time. I just want to be interested in the meetings and be here and make sure we're represented. So.
And we're glad that you are here. We
Very
appreciate
much.
that you make the drive. Thank you.
So I would make that motion to reopen it to and state Randy if there's a second.
Okay. The chair will entertain that motion, kind of suspend everything else for the moment. Is there a second though?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to reopen the discussion about open council seats. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so it's open.
I nominate Randy to fill Christie's voting member seat. Randy Udy.
Second. Okay, there's a motion in a couple of seconds, so you can take your pick there, Carly. Thank you. Any further discussion?
The only discussion, and this is not to discourage, just to recognize that means that there's two people from the Bear River Canal Company on the council. I am totally fine with that, but just to recognize that, make sure that everybody does know that.
There's actually 4.
4?
Yeah, there's actually 4.
He's
Well,
the
I'm a shareholder in the canal company,
And
but
then
Jeff is on.
He is the president. He had other commitments today and couldn't make it. He apologizes.
Again, as long as everybody knows and is voting with that knowledge, I think it's fine.
If they get too overhanded, we'll vote to kick Randy off. I trust him now, I guess.
that is a good point, though, Ann, and it's worth bringing up just because you set a precedent as to, that kind of expectation and the balance.
Right.
I think we all appreciate bringing it up. Thank you. Any other discussion items about the motion at hand? Hearing none, that there are no more, all those in favor of accepting Mr. Rudy?
I
Any opposed? Okay, so noted. All right. Well, welcome aboard.
Thanks.
Yeah, congratulations or condolences. I'm sure it's both. All right, so back to the matter at hand with leadership. I feel a little bit conflicted because I put myself out there. So, Ann, I know that you've shared some good thoughts or good thoughts from any other council members. Because if I accept one, then there's a secretary position too. But really, it's, as Nate said, it would just be to run the meetings just to have them be concise. But I would look to the council for generation of agenda items.
And I think it makes sense to either chair or vice chair, at least for now, to have chance in one of those where this is our anchor location. He's offering up some staff help. So for him to be in at least one of those positions, I think.
Which one do you
would be
want?
my option?
I would for vice.
There any other thoughts? All right.
and you're
None?
you're off, you're out.
Well,
Well, he's
especially as good as he's willing to take it, so.
So
But I could do either one.
I'd move we cease nominations and nominate you as chair and you as vice chair by acclamation.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second on the table. Further discussion?
Would
Go ahead.
you prefer to stay as secretary or do you want to be chair?
I don't want to be chair, but I don't really mind one way or the other, because if I leave for secretary, somebody else is gonna do it.
Would you like to be chair?
So just knowing Sean's schedule and also just for full disclosure,
He's one of my
refers to me
bosses.
as one of his bosses. Want that to be clear before I say, but I do want to move things along here too.
Agreed.
And in addition, I want to speak to you. I think it's great to have Sean as the secretary because of the continuity that brings in the full discussions of
So who's
the
chair?
perspectives of on our water situation. Is there any, I do it, but I have some reservation just because I know this board. And in the general sense of the councils, watershed councils, the interest is to not have it be a political or elected official dominated thing. So just
You
like-
also
That's not
represent a
dominating.
canal company.
so, I mean, if that isn't an issue for anyone. Sean and I are already, our schedules where we already interact actually would make it easier to put time into this. I would do it.
I really like that.
I so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, so you technically by parliamentary procedure, the other one failed because we can't entertain a motion. So we really actually have to, well, there was a second.
Yes, to
So we
rescind
actually
it.
have to,
I'll rescind my motion.
and who seconded it?
Randy.
Okay, you rescind.
Yeah, I'll rescind
Okay, fantastic. So then we have a motion and a second for Mark Hurd to be chair. Mr. Baxter for vice chair. Correct? All right, and then I retain secretary.
Mhm.
Is there any further desire to have the conversation going longer?
No,
Okay,
move we cease nominations and vote, or an approved by acclamation.
I'll second that.
excellent. All those in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? Done. Mark, your chair.
Well done.
Stop it. I don't need to run the meeting anymore. Technically, I'd be
Just let me
giving him-
know who made and seconded that one so I can get that written down.
It was,
Reagan Holmgren.
And Randy Udy seconded.
Thank you.
thank you, Holly, for being so attentive to those details. We know as an official council, I'm talking like I'm still there.
I'm happy to turn it over to you since you were prepared as chair for the meeting.
Just following the agenda.
Well, thank you, I think. I know I will miss Christie's presence on this council. And I actually plan to lean on her a little bit, just now thinking through this. Get up to speed on what she had in mind for what she had going, but with that, I think we'll move on to the next step, which is
Presentation.
presentation on LP 566 program.
All right. Ready to pass these around. Well, we're gonna have Derek and Trevor talk to you guys, but I was able to come up today. And so, I prefer this to be a discussion. I can talk a little bit. I don't want to take too much of your time, but if you have any questions at any point during my presentation, by all means, just let me know and see if we can have a discussion. So typically, so we're here to talk about our watershed programs today. Typically, people are pretty familiar with our Farm Bill programs through EQIP and all that. In those programs, we typically work with individual property owners. The watershed program, we work with government-sponsored projects, and so they're a little bit different. There's three of them. The EWP program is our Emergency Watershed Protection Program. That's for restoring watersheds that have been affected by a flood event. And those have really short time horizons for those projects. We're usually trying to get done with those as quickly as possible.
Those questions, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will interrupt Trey. So the Piute County, the fires and the Marysville, the flooding there, those guys are concerned about the potential flooding in some of the areas outside of where they declared it. Could this be used to mitigate the flooding before it happens, or has it got to flood?
So the EWP program is to put things back the way they were.
Yeah, and what they're worried is because it was such a hot fire.
Yeah.
That they're afraid they're gonna have a lot of problems.
Yeah, and we can do some protection work for infrastructure and things like that. And so it's the intent of that program is to put things back the way they were and then protect things that qualify for protection. So depending, and that could be any number of different measures that could do that.
But yeah, but fire would be something that sponsor could reach out to us and get into the program. And they may have already initiated.
Yeah, I know there's some stuff going on right in Marysville City, they're already aware.
Yeah.
There's some of the other areas that they're pretty concerned about.
Anything from reseeding to stream bank armoring. Some of those type of projects that we're looking at for EWP work.
The other two are this one, I've handed out this sheet here, this Watershed Protection and Flood Prevention Operations Program. So there's the Watershed Protection Program, which is more of an umbrella program for watershed treatment projects or watershed projects that will improve water use and habitat and a number of different uses. And there's a list on the front page there of purposes that we can use that program for. And the rehab program is designed for dam rehab. So if you've got a dam that needs some rehab work, we can help you with that.
So that's that last bullet on that list.
Yeah.
So the rehab is more for dams than potentially dates for canals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, rehab is good.
Rehab, it's intended for NRCS dams that are in place already. The Watershed Ops program, if a sponsor has a facility they would like us to adopt and bring into our program, it would be under the Watershed Ops and not the rehab. A little bit confusing, but only the NRCS dams that are in place now would be eligible for the rehab until we adopt it and bring it into our system.
Yeah, and so the really great thing about the Watershed program is that, you know, we have the ability to bring in broad range of projects and deal with them holistically under a single EIS or EA. And so, the big things to know probably that, you know, from a practical standpoint is those projects have typically a pretty long timeline. And I think some of you are working with us on some of our projects, and you know, we're talking several years, usually 5-6 years to finish a watershed plan that could be funded. So they're a significant planning effort. And do you guys have any other questions about it, or?
Have you ever seen a group like this actually try to get some funding for a watershed plan?
We would.
Yeah.
You have to have a sponsor that has certain
Responsibility.
responsibilities and powers, so they have to have eminent domain power and stuff. So this group wouldn't ever qualify to be the sponsor. We could help work with a watershed to do one, but we wouldn't be able to be a sponsor.
Just so as far as funding to do a EIS or EA, can some of this maybe be used to do
So
the
we
EIS?
pay for the EIS. So we pay 100% for the EIS, and there's a cost schedule on the back here. So see, engineering and technical assistance, you can see is up to 100% or 100% on everything. And then installation and construction, you know, that's more variable. The flood prevention is the big one, though. That's, you know, we pay for 100% of the construction for flood prevention. Did that?
What's your timeline for being able to, once you initiate, we'll start looking at a project, being able to move?
So it really depends, like, well, what do you like it? Like, so maybe we'll just walk through the process really quickly. So let's say you have an interest in a project with us. You would apply to us and work with one of our planners to put together formal application to complete what we call a PIFR, which is a preliminary investigations and feasibilities report. And that study will allow us to do kind of a feasibility up front to see, is there really something here that we can do? And we'll pay for that if we're going to do one. So we accept applications throughout the year, and then right now our process is to wait till the end of the calendar year, accept applications to the end of the calendar year, and then we'll rank them and go through them and pick the ones that we feel like are a good choice to promote. And then we'll apply for funding for those at the national headquarters. And if we get funding for it, then we can move ahead with the study. That usually takes about a year. And then if we come up with, you know, then we get our PIFR, and then we have to apply again to be able to do the EIS or the EA. So then we apply for that. We'll rank and pick the ones that we feel like have a good chance of getting it, and then we'll promote those. And if we get funding, then we proceed with the planning process. So you can see you're already talking, you know,
3 years.
yeah, 2 or 3 years just to get to that. And then we're looking at hopefully planning process will take a couple of years. And then you're.
Bear River Canal Company started its PIFR in 2020. And then it went through, it was evaluated. And they were changing the program while we were going through the process, so I would say ours has taken a little bit longer than they would like to moving forward.
It's
But
COVID too.
Our EIS was the NOI, notice of intent to proceed, was just published last week, so we have the PIFR part, the three-phase project. You have the PIFR part, you have the environmental and 30% design, and then you have the actual construction. So our first phase took from 2020 to about 2022. From 2022 to today, we're now to the NOI, so we're 24 months from hopefully last week, we can have that part of it done, so about 3 years in there. That's 5 years to get to when you could turn dirt. And then depending on the size of your project, if you're more than 25 million, it takes an act of Congress, and so that can add another year. If you're not that big, then it could go faster. So you're looking at, Derek, best case scenario, 6 years, more likely 7.5.
You know, CEQ NEPA regs say we're supposed to be done with an EIS in 2 years. So for me to say anything beyond 2 years wouldn't be consistent with those regs. But yeah, we're seeing that hitting a 2-year timeframe with what's considered under the PL 566 program. We're not stepping into the NEPA process with the preferred alternative. We're stepping into this developing a watershed plan. We have a few ideas, but we're looking to the public to identify deficiencies, and then we will massage our alternatives and perhaps find a sweet spot and a solution for other issues in the watershed that we weren't even aware of when we started the watershed plan. So again, the program was, you know, it started in the mid-50s, so pre-NEPA. Well, they had to make this pivot late 60s when NEPA came around. And so they just made the watershed plan dash either EA or EIS. So it's a combined watershed plan and NEPA document, which is quite unique. And we have to explain that to many agency folks. Why is this a plan and a NEPA document combined into one? It's because the program is older than NEPA. And they decided to combine these. Very difficult to keep under the page limit. Under the NEPA regs, also very tough to keep under the time frame of the NEPA regs when we're doing a combined plan and a NEPA document where other agencies are just diving into NEPA with a project already identified and starting in that year or two.
Yeah, we've got 4 or 3 going in Cache and Franklin counties combined. One crosses the border, and they were started before the PIFR process. And the 2 are approaching 4 years, and the other one's 3. But we hope those ones were just about, hopefully before Christmas.
And you heard Trevor say after Congress?
Yeah, the first draft of the EIS will go to NRCS for internal review by the end of year 4, and then it'll get some internal. So that the official draft will go out next year sometime. And then so we're hoping by 2026 to have an approved on those 3
But your
projects.
public comment for the Bear River Canal District, PL 566 just closed. Is that correct? The public comment?
Yeah. Yeah, Monday.
For the NOI.
For the
Yeah, that part. of it.
Not for the other.
Yeah. Then they'll open up the project and have some public meetings.
So, but back to this act of Congress, Trevor mentioned it. It really does require congressional approval for any NRCS construction money over 25 million. And that's not tough to do anymore.
No.
Especially when you're looking at multiple sites. And
Oh, yeah.
multiple
He means to get over the 25 million, not talk to Congress.
And again, that's just what triggers it to be an EIS. That's a significant amount of money. So we just can't approve that under an EA.
And with that, like on yours too, Trevor, on 2 of ours, we're already in conversations with our federal representatives from the state on these projects, knowing that when we get to that point, even though it's still probably 1.5 years down the road, that they need to already be talking about it at the national level. Because
Well,
It's gonna
and-
take some push to get them across the finish line.
Is that somebody online? Is that Tara or is that?
No, so Tara is with NRCS. She does the environmental part review of these NEPA process that we're going through with NRCS. So it's no one on here. It's
But she helps.
talking with,
Is our 106 cultural resource lead. for the
Cultural
program.
resource,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and again, we are the federal lead action agency under NEPA. We have consultants that help us prepare our 106 cultural reports, our biological assessments, our weapon inventory reports. There's a very, very robust economic analysis that the Bureau of Rec, the Army Corps, and NRCS must adhere to, called principal requirements and guidelines. Very, very robust. And it's basically our tool that defends the use of this money versus the benefits, our benefit cost ratio. Are we realizing more benefits than costs over the life of the project? So again, those will all be developed and prepared here in the near future, but we're still figuring out alternative solutions and throwing things.
But to get to your question, it's a long-term solution. This is not a program for which is going to fix a problem that you're having today. This is a program for which
planning.
where you're going to make a macro change to your systems of some kind that you have a decade to do it. Because this is all just the day you turn dirt. Like our project will likely take at least 2 or 3 off seasons to construct. And so that's why it'll be a decade effort for the Canal Company, and then some of our sponsors are in the same boat. So, we really appreciate the NRCS. I think they're doing a good job. It's just not one of those programs that moves at the speed of light. So you just have to be okay with that. Move along with it.
But if you get to the end, it's a great funding source. It's a good program.
Okay, any additional questions on the program? Thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you for the presentation and the input.
Sorry, I'm sharing it.
Pull that back up, so.
Actually, I still have one question. And actually, maybe after Trevor, we'll have questions back. So you guys don't leave until after Trevor. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll make eye contact before we leave.
We'll unlock the door.
Thank you.
I mean, according to the timeline, we're actually up a little early, but.
No, Trevor, Trevor's next.
Yeah, for 2:15.
No. No, Derek and Trevor.
Oh, excuse me. Okay.
So now, okay, what my thought was,
Forgive
we
me.
have an overview of what the program is, and then we have now somebody who's actually doing it.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
So I mostly said everything that I'd already planned on saying, but we are to the stage where our NOI has through its public comment period and it's been published. We're hoping to start the environmental side of the process. They are in that engineering phase where they're taking everything to 30% design. Something that we're discovering is construction costs are much higher than anticipated. The Bear River Canal Company project initially looked at bringing all the water down one side of the Bear River from Cutler Dam in a sealed conduit and then siphoning the water back across. That now has $100 million price tag, which is far more than 25 million is not something that Bear River Canal Company can shell out of its own pocket. So we're looking at 2 alternatives that will one is that we still bring all the water across using some siphons, and we only improve the sections of our canyon area that need to be improved to handle the larger flow. Our canal was overbuilt when it was built. Just a few small bottlenecks. So that's the first option. The second option is to improve both sides of the river and continue with 2 canals. Trying to keep our project costs somewhere in the below $30 million range, because at that point it kind of gets outside of what we can bring to the table. So that is a challenge if you decide to do a PL 566 is you will start with one number, and because it's such a lengthy process and the way construction's been going, you're gonna end with a much different number. I'm sure Nate could testify to
We
this
started at
project.
80 and we're at 150s.
Yeah, we were,
Just for one part. Not even
that's
flood-
about what
not
ours
even
has
flood
done.
control. But they still make sense. I mean, ours still pencil out and make sense. I mean, even at that increased cost with where you've got to be with water decades from now. If you don't invest that today, you're just gonna be that much further behind in 30 years. And so we're still hopeful.
And then ours is a little bit unique in the fact that there's. Are we up to about 9 participants, Derek? Other people that have smaller projects, there's a floodwater project out in Bothwell. Several of the cities, including Bear River City, is looking at doing a secondary system using the program. There is
Highline Ditch Company, ADE Ditch Company.
Two of them.
We originally started out on our own, thinking we could do this, and then we got to the discussion of, well, you gotta be a taxing agency, so then that's when it fell upon his shoulders. So.
And that's one thing I would add that Derek kind of alluded to a little. This program is really different than most other federal funding programs to start the environmental process, right? Most projects you review, you have a project in mind and you do the environmental analysis of that project. This funding is you have a resource concern and you open it up at the first to the public, to all the entities in that watershed and say, we can fix these resource concerns or look at them in this. Do you guys have any projects? And so that's why they started with piping the canal, and now they've got 9 entities that have projects that meet these requirements. They want to look at doing it while they're doing this EIS. And so you don't start with, our project is really not done a full 180, but it's changed quite a bit from what we thought it would at the start because of mainly public input and people getting involved with the process. So and for people, we have one on our board that's with the Forest Service, right? He still can't comprehend because this is so backwards to every NEPA process he's ever done. And it is really backwards of how you would do it, but it's because I'd never heard that interpretation of, because it was before NEPA, and that makes way more sense now, for why it's done that way, but you think you're going with one thing and now you can't.
So I've been with Bear River Canal Company this is my 3rd season, and they started this process before I got here, and it's changed drastically in 2.5 years. Like Tremont City had a flood project they're gonna they wanna do. Trevor mentioned the Bothwell pocket out there, that sucker. It needs some flood help. When she rains out there, she rains.
So the duck clubs are doing bank stabilization near the Bear River. So it's turned into quite a multifaceted project.
Yeah, it's got the complexity.
So I have
Around those would be helpful. That was what was presented at the scoping meeting.
Right.
As far as,
So from a payment, point of view. So. Trevor, you said something about what you could bring to the table. Or what the canal company and the other entities could bring to the table. I don't quite understand how this cost share works. If something says 100% versus what you say you can bring to the table, because that's what I wanted out of this conversation is the reality check.
So there's the 3 silos. There's the PIFR, there's the engineering and the environmental, and then there's the actual construction. So the PIFR and the PIFR and the environmental and the
final design, between your environmental and construction.
One more step in.
Well, but isn't final design part of the construction process?
No, it's before. It's a whole separate funding.
Oh, wow. So anyways, all.
You just
all
added a year or
construction
something.
are underneath this engineering technical assistance. And so for us, we'll have 100% on those components, which that is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Because usually we have to
Million.
pay, our 25% or 50% of engineering and that. This process, because there's so much environmental background in it, it would be very expensive if we wouldn't pay 100%. And then when we do the actual construction, we need to bring 75%, or we need to bring 25% to the table in some form of non-federal funding. So it can be from the canal company itself, it could be from a state appropriation, a state grant, from private grants, anything like that. It just cannot be federal.
So Valjay, does the Farm Bureau, do you guys get involved with any of these projects? Okay.
But like if they're doing flood stuff out in Bear River City, that will be paid for. Construction of that
100%
will be 100%.
It's
And
flood.
so they don't have to come up with anything, but the shareholders here, and ours is the mix. We've got recreation on part of it, and that's 50%.
Mhm.
And so Logan City is gonna pay the other half of that, if that moves forward. And
The construction phase is the only
Yep,
phase.
where you
that
will bring
requires
money to the
sponsor
table.
Cost share. And if your project is flood prevention, flood damage reduction, there's none at all during the construction phase. The program will pay 100% of the construction of anything flood damage. But for your planning efforts, for your final design, RCS pays 100% of survey work, engineering work. Not until we get to construction do we ask the sponsor to contribute funds.
So it takes time, but it's a great program.
Yeah. There's a lot of interest in the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you get out of it until you get to construction, it's 100% in RCS.
But the map shows all the different components that have been looked at. And some of those are kind of falling away because, the length of how long it takes to see this program to the finish. For River Canal Company, we're focusing on that #1 project and kind of waning away from the #2 project because of cost. We can only invest so much. But, it's gonna be a good project. We're really excited about it, so.
Thank you. So again, I'm sorry, I keep on interrupting and, because obviously I was the one that was trying to think through this conversation, but, do we see other planning efforts that like this and the funding like this throughout the rest of the Bear? Obviously, Cache Water District is doing something, but do we know what, if anything, is happening in Rich County on this type of scale? With 9 different people, or do you need it? Is it a resource concern, like Nate said?
No, there's not anything this kind of scale going on up there.
But is there a need, do you think?
There always is a need, and projects go on at different times, and it's mainly for keeping the water clear for Bear Lake than it is the project getting it out. So
We do have a draft plan being prepared with Rich Watershed Plan EA.
Woodruff, yeah, so they're looking at one over there.
And it's looking to replace 20+ dilapidated diversions. So
I guess one of the things to think about for the council is that how interested are we in knowing what is going on, right? So like, because there's public notices and things like that, or notices of intent that NRCS puts out, but do all of us need to know what's going on? How interested are we about these types of things so that we understand the system and what's driving, this is the infrastructure, right, of how the Bear is being managed. I don't know. I'm just asking as a watershed council, do we want to have an update from NRCS every year and say, do you have a map?
I think on the ongoing projects, we could just have the sponsors come to the meetings and update us as they move to different phases, maybe. Cause like we toured on our tour we did in, whatever it was, May, maybe? The Cache tour we put on,
First of June.
First of June, we went to one of the projects over there and toured part of it.
Right.
Over there for part of that, and invited all the council to come over and see it. Yeah, I think having them come here and at least present, if new ones come up. Ours all started before the councils existed. Now, if a new one comes up, it would be good for them to come do a presentation. Hey, this one's gonna be out, there's gonna be public notice, and so we could look at it. Well, it wouldn't be NRCS have to come. I think it would be the sponsor of the project. NRCS doesn't need to come tell us. The sponsor should come, because they're gonna be in our watershed. The sponsor's gonna be a community, a canal company, whatever. I think it would make more sense for them to come present instead of NRCS, because it's their project.
Well, I agree, but I'm thinking logistically, you'd probably be easier to get your contacts from NRCS. You don't know if somebody in the council doesn't know who to talk to.
Yeah, are you talking about having like a list or an inventory of the projects that are underway? That this body is at least
Yeah.
aware of and we have a visual. Well, here's.
Right, and we
XYZ
can get
project and the
Melissa to
timeline.
get somebody to do with GIS for us and put it all together. Sorry, well, but
Okay.
you know, I mean, because I think from a council, I would think that we would want to know the whole, right, instead of just our individual interests.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
don't
we need
wanna,
to see, this group needs to see the big picture.
right,
Yeah, I think maybe, I mean, I love this representation of
Mhm.
this project. I think that's great and I'd love to see what we have at the Logan River.
We got similar maps.
Watershed.
Yeah, we can print
Yeah,
all those
we have
maps. They're on
those.
NRCS website. There's one of those for every project in the state.
And so
Print that same thing.
if we just had those, at least as a list, you know, here's the different projects and then, you know, as simple as a document that we have access to, then has links to the websites that have the robust detail. That way we can keep an eye to the big picture from each person, because I mean, I'll be honest, I'll get wrapped up in what's going on in the Logan River Watershed project, and I'm grateful to hear about this, but I didn't know anything about it till we talked about it today. Right, and it's relevant for this group for sure, but we all get in our tunnel vision, so I think that'd be great.
I think it would be helpful to understand what PL 566 watershed plan is being considered in your entire watershed, and what are the project measures being considered within each plan. Again, right now, you see what we handed out, there's a number of projects being considered here. So it's not only the watershed plans, but the measures within each plan that your group.
right, and with my conservation hat on, is I'm always looking at mitigation if needed, or you know, with the projects, because they will have an impact on the wetlands or watershed. So we need to make sure that there is a balance. I know when you guys want water, you want water, but there needs to be a balance.
We're putting more water in the river with ours.
Awesome.
You'll love our project. It'd make the Logan River way better.
That's why you guys didn't want me chair.
You still watch well.
We save water.
I think we'll explore the idea of having a list or a repository of projects, watershed related in the Bear River area. I think makes sense that this group would have.
We could even get the list from Idaho's side to see what ones are going on where the bear
Sure.
goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Cause they're doing
the
stuff up
entirety.
there too.
Yep.
And the NRCS Utah watershed program homepage is an interactive map.
Yeah.
Where you can click throughout the
Just
state,
to work on
find the
it.
watershed boundaries, identify sponsors, the purpose of the projects. So there's some tools on those websites.
But as you can tell from, I mean, at least, okay, I'm gonna only speak for myself, but because everybody is so busy, it's a lot easier when you spoon feed it to us.
You
Sorry,
can just
but,
pull that link up here and click on each project and go through them one time.
well, and we might do that, right?
That'd be the
Right, and then
easiest instead of printing all the stuff out that we're gonna throw away.
Agree?
You're gonna throw away my mask?
Sorry.
I'm not. I thought you'd hide that when your treasures are true.
It might sit on the seat of my truck for a couple of weeks.
On the dashboard gets dated.
Till my kids hop in there like, get in.
We'll take that as an action item, it's the new leadership group. We'll jump right in. I think it's a great idea.
But I think,
Go ahead.
to Nate's point, like, so I've been in the canal business almost 20 years. I started at West Cache over in Cache Valley. I was there for 14 years. I get that Idaho's not in our, like, they're on the other side of our shed, but they're just as important as we are over here, and they're doing immense things too, because they can see the writing on the wall, just like the rest of us can. So like there are some major projects going on, like Last Chance Canal Company's doing a major overhaul. Idaho's trying to do their part too.
Well, it's aging infrastructure too.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all at once, all the problems at once.
So what happens when you hit the 100-year+ mark.
Well, I think it's what happens when you haven't, when you can see it coming, but you don't want to acknowledge that it's coming, and then when it's here, it's like, oh my gosh, here we go.
And then it's just harder. And that could have been much better earlier on, so. Okay, well, thank you, Trevor, for the update and the summary, and thank you for this line item on the agenda. I think it's great.
No,
Discussion.
these guys came up with it. I just asked.
Any additional questions?
You can go, bye.
You gotta get back to Vernal, so.
Long drive, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your attendance. Thank you.
Let us know how we can help in the future. There might be certain milestones where it makes sense for us to come back in and update you on alternatives that are gonna be carried through the full EIS. And then once we land on a perfect alternative, those feel like some perhaps milestones that we can visit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks online too. NRCS people.
3 more on there.
Okay, great discussion. Input, thank you. We'll just keep moving right along. We're looking at the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council and Utah Watershed Council updates. I don't know who's taking that one on, but
Which one? Where are we at?
the update to the GSL Advisory Council.
Well, you went to the last meeting. Trevor, I couldn't get to it, so you probably have more of an update than I do at the moment.
So a couple things have changed. So the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council has decided that they want to invite members from the different watershed councils to be liaison members, non-voting members of the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council. So they sent me an email and invited me to come since I was the elected individual to be on the Utah watershed, the Utah Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. And so I attended, because we weren't going to have another meeting before that meeting happened, but we needed to just visit about what you guys wanted to do there. If you wanted me to continue to attend in that capacity, if you want this role to fill essentially, if they do make a Great Salt Lake Watershed Council,
With the advisory council.
in parallel with the advisory council, would you want this role to go to both of those? Or do we want to have a separate person? We had some strong feelings about this in the letter that we sent, that we didn't feel like there was the proper balance to make the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. And in this liaison process, they have tried to balance some of that. They invited Warren Peterson, who consults Farm Bureau on water policy, to represent agriculture. And then they invited all of the individuals like myself who are the Watershed Council members that would have been on the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council to be liaisons for the different individual councils. And then they had one from the military as well as Indian Affairs, Indian Nations, and am I missing any others?
I don't think so.
So they've tried to expand the council out, but all these individuals are liaison non-voting members. So to get to the root of that first question is, I do think the way forward, this is opinion, so I'm just going to put it as opinion. I do think the way forward is to not have parallel bodies. I do think that Great Salt Lake Advisory Council and the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council probably need to merge into one body. Right now, legislatively, they're supposed to be two. I think that there's a path forward there that needs to politically be navigated very carefully so that the voting seats are properly weighted, because the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council is very much about the lake itself, whereas the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council is about the watershed as a whole. And so that's a good discussion. I think we should probably be supportive of trying to marry the two so that we don't have another meeting to go to. But we also need to defend our position in the fact that if all the voting individuals are only the people who are directly tied to the lake, that doesn't necessarily fulfill the purpose of the Watershed Council. So what are your thoughts?
I agree that it makes sense to only have one Great Salt Lake group. whatever they call it is fine, but they either need to figure out how to make all these liaisons and voting members, like the current act says, we would all have a voting seat on the Great Salt Lake Watershed Council. If we only ever get a liaison position, then they're just gonna vote however they want. They'll listen to you, but they're gonna vote how they have been, which they can fix easily, I think. They can, and I think Jordan River kind of did this, right? They added the seats that they were supposed to. They didn't ask to have the act changed to make them exempt to all the rules like Great Salt Lake Advisory Council tried last session. But they can have basically a subgroup inside their council. That could be the Watershed Council, and the other body is just the Great Salt Lake Advisory. They can set it up different, so members on the board, only vote on the watershed things. So they could say, I think they should look that way. At least on the cash side, I think we would be pretty against any legislation that looked at not giving this Watershed Council a voting seat on that body, whatever it ends up being. If it's only liaisons, then I don't think we would support it, at least on the Cache County side. And that's kind of what our letter said, that said before, that taking all those votes from around the Great Salt Lake away from those other bodies, saying that we have someone there because there's a county commissioner from Box Elder County that very seldomly is at the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council meetings. We don't have representation of the Bear River there.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting, just so you guys know, the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council has historically not had anything that they voted on that was policy or legislatively driven. So, right, so this is a change for them. They're not used to having to make decisions. They were more just pushing strategies along so that the legislature was informed. And that's still something we can advise them on, right, as that, but that voting part of it, if it comes to a decision, I don't even know what some of those that's going to be, but you don't want to close the door on having that opportunity.
Because there's a good chance if it's just them, what they would vote on, the others may vote differently on, that aren't gonna be there. I mean, Bear River Watershed Council may not vote the same on some legislative issues that the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council, potentially.
Well, or differently than the Weaver and the Jordan too.
Yep. Could get, and if none of them have a vote, then it doesn't matter for them to even be there.
Yeah.
Give their opinion and then they don't get any say. But that's just how I feel coming.
I appreciate your comments, Nate. I would echo that. I mean, I think that if this watershed council isn't represented with a vote there, it's not a value add thing as a liaison. And we should continue to advocate for representation.
Well, I think this is the biggest watershed that sends most water down there.
It
You
is.
ever have to say, like,
Yeah.
without this watershed, it is dead.
Yeah, and that's where they're claiming that they had a county commissioner. I can't remember his name, who sits on it right now. And I don't know if he got reelected or not.
Summers,
Yeah,
it's, Perry.
Perry, yeah, but
Lee Perry.
But he doesn't come to any of these meetings. I don't know what other water meetings he goes to potentially, but he only gets to about one Great Salt Lake Advisory Council meeting a year, if that. So he's not representing us now. Don't see him taking that role in the future, so.
And Box Elder County is in the middle of a change.
Yeah.
All commissioners, as of this election cycle, will have all new commissioners. The incumbents have stepped away or have been beaten. And so there's going to be a shakeup on assignments. And I do think we will see better representation from water interested commissioners. Because, well, it's likely going to be Commissioner Bingham, because he takes an interest in it. Commissioner Bingham, his experiences, he's a small town mayor. He's been coming for quite some time, and then he's also a farmer, so he gives a little bit of the flavor of kind of our valley and the fact that we're still based in the fact that we're still very ag-centric, but our municipalities need to be taken care of as well. So I think that could be really positive for us, but again, it'll depend on what the three of them decide to dish out the assignments to be. Maybe one ends up replacing Stan on this group, but another one ends up being on the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council, and you just never know how commissioners decide.
How many more meetings they want to go to.
It's hard.
That is
A lot
one
of
segment of the government where they're definitely stretched thinner than. So.
So, is there any actionable items out of this for today, or just awareness that we will be asked to make a decision at some point?
So I have two questions as the representative. The first is would you like me to continue to attend as a liaison?
Yes, I think that makes sense. At least we're.
Do you need an alternate?
No, I think I can handle this. I just, wanted to make it, and that was the second question is, do you want me to be the person? So, okay. Sounds like you do. The second is, do you want me to give the feedback that we're okay with this liaison type role for now, but as we work towards a more permanent solution, we would like to see a voting role for the liaison from our council.
Yeah. And then I would guess before long, we see legislation started. I mean, they already said at the last water task force that this would be addressed with legislation this session, so we just haven't seen anything yet. We want to watch that close.
I did get a phone call from former Representative Hawks. He's kind of the tip of the spear for the Great Salt Lake Advisory Council.
Sure.
He wants to somehow marry him. He's open to ideas. But just as we are as protective of our representation, making sure that we stay representative, the people who are already on GSLAC are as protective of their representation.
They don't want to dilute their.
And so there may be some horse trading that happens, and we will probably all end up not happy, but hopefully we get to something that we can all work with. So I'll keep the council informed then on how that goes and kind of work with former Representative Fox on trying to get legislation that embodies that idea of getting more voting, moving liaisons to voting positions in the correct. That's all right with the council.
That seems to be the majority opinion. It's additional concern. Let's talk about that now, but it seems to me that that's the course of the will of the council. So. Okay, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you taking that on and continuing to do that for us. Next meeting, talk about when we want to meet next. Remind me of the cycle we've been on. Is it every
once a quarter?
Quarterly? Okay, so we'll be looking at October. Stick with the first month of the quarter timeframe.
That was November, December, October probably makes the most sense, at least for this quarter.
Those months are pretty busy, so, let's see, this is third Thursday. So that would put October 17th as the suggested date. I'd say any objection to that being our date?
I would not be available.
Nor I. I think those are pretty big objections. Okay, let's find another day.
What about the 24th?
24th is open for me as well, so that could work. Okay, we will, let's set our next meeting to be October 24th and.
At 1?
Yeah, with 1 o'clock, and we typically meet here, and this seems to be probably the best location.
Yeah,
we've
set it as our anchor location for now, so.
And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we very much appreciate
Well, we
it. So,
did discuss trying to make it out this year to Rich County for a meeting, since he always has to travel. We want to try to do this October 1 over in.
Be gorgeous drive.
Garden City, meet in the middle.
Is there a place over there that you could help us procure?
yeah,
We could get a place there in the Garden City office.
City office.
I was gonna say the annex building, they'd probably be fine with us being.
It's up to you.
I'm certainly open to the idea. I think that'd be great. Get over there and save you a drive for once.
How are the, internets there so that we could make sure that we have,
Physical service.
We're good.
City office. Yeah.
We hold meetings like this in the city building, like Zoom and everything. The bandwidth is good enough.
We'll just have to follow up and make sure it's available that day.
Okay, so we'll tentatively plan to have it in Rich County location to be determined. We'll get that scheduled as soon as we can and send that out to everybody as, and then email for confirmation of the site, but I think that's a great suggestion to. We've been saying we want to do that. Let's make it happen this next meeting.
That's a good time because it's before winter.
Yeah.
I don't want to come here in January.
Although at 24th of October, that last
little late.
October could be a storm sometimes.
Sure.
Can only hope.
Just makes the drive look pretty, with a little snow up top.
As long as it's not Peter Sinks in January, it'll be fine.
Okay. State one for King County.
Okay, well, thank you for that,
Can that?
getting that scheduled. Any additional public comment?
I have something.
Anybody in the room? Okay.
At the Utah Watersheds Council meeting last Thursday, they asked me to compile a document of every change they want to suggest to the Watershed Councils Act. I want to make sure local councils know they can also contribute to that. So if you have something, you're like, we will succeed, like, we're much more likely to succeed if they can change this, like, oh, we need a paid admin, or, you know.
Yes.
Send me those comments so I can say this came from the Bear River Watershed Council and the Jordan River Watershed Council, you know, so we have numbers. So
Okay.
email them to me. You can find it online, or I can send out an email to the group after this, but any changes you'd like to see that you think are really necessary, that you want the state council to push to the legislature, I want to hear them. So
Could you send that out in an email too?
I would love to.
That would be really helpful.
Yes.
And can we get Chance's, email?
Oh, yeah, what's your email, Jen?
It's actually gonna be changing. We didn't get the memo about the .com to .gov, and we get our current emails are .com.
Oh.
And we have to switch them to .gov. So we're all getting new emails this week.
Okay.
So I will let the group know as soon as I.
Okay.
We'll put out an email from the council leadership with all of our new contact information. I feel like I'm going to be creating a new email just for this, to keep track of it, so.
Yeah. And I appreciate having the meetings on Thursdays, because Tuesdays have always been bad for me. I haven't been able to attend when they've been Tuesdays, so.
Yeah, in general, Thursday works better for me too, so. Yeah, okay. Well, if there's no other comments or input, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'd give you one input.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're interested or not, but in the upper Bear River, the Woodruff Narrows Reservoir irrigated over the spillway, most of the irrigation system. And when it shut down, it was at about, it spilled at around 57,000 acre feet. And right now there's 55,000 acre feet sitting in the reservoir. And all that are being used right now is second crop sprinkling. And so probably when people have their hay up, we'll have to do a release and send water down, because we don't want to spill in the winter time. So that's
Pretty good on high, isn't it?
that's the upper end.
That's good. I
That's
mean,
a great
if it-
problem to have, right?
It is.
I was gonna say, if it gets to Great Salt Lake, that'd be great, but that it will.
Trevor will get it before he gets out.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you for that.
Their lake's already,
Right.
yeah, we'll make it to the lake.
Do we need a formal motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn. I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
We were just commenting, we're gonna call you the Duke from now on.
Wait, what?
We're gonna call you the Duke.